everybody. If you remember a little while ago, I was contacted by Bosch Dremel, same company, and they basically said, would you like to do a couple of reviews for us? And they sent me a drill and they sent me the Dremel 4300 to try out, and you will see that I have done those reviews. They are linked at the end of the video. And while I was just chatting with him, he said, oh, we've got the new Dremel Lite coming out, which is this small battery operated Dremel. He said, would you like to give it a go? But yeah, if you want me to have a little look at it, I have no problems doing that. And as it turns out, this is actually a really handy little bit of kit. And they're only about £40-ish, so they're not too expensive. I have actually used this quite a bit, so it might not look perfectly new and clean on the inside, but let's do a very quick unboxing, as it were. So in the box, you get a charging cable, a small box of accessories, the tool itself, a manual, a little sort of quick start guide with some basic information on how to use it, etc. And then a chart of all the bits that they do. So it's your normal micro USB charging cable. And in the accessories kit you get a little drum sander, some drum sanding discs with some coarse and a fine grained drum, some polishing compound and some polishing heads, a little arbor for putting the polishing heads on, little plastic bristled cleaning brush, the tool, a little wire brush, some little grinding wheels, just some very basic bits. Okay, so the tool itself, as you can see, is quite small. It's definitely the smallest Dremel I've ever used. It is battery operated. There is no cords on this, so that's why you have the charging cable. It has got a 3.6 volt lithium ion battery in it. It takes about 2 hours, 45 minutes, 3 hours-ish to charge, and running time obviously depends on how high a setting you have it on, but around 40 odd minutes, 45 minutes. If it was on the much lower settings, you'd probably get over an hour, and if it was on the really high settings, you'd probably get a bit less. It's got variable control. And it is 8,000 RPM for number 1, 14,000 RPM for number 2, 21,000 RPM for number 3, and 25,000 RPM for number 4. So the RPM range of this is 8,000 to 25,000 RPM in increments of an amount, if you want to work it out. You've got a little rubber cover on the back, which is where the USB port is. And the locking button for attaching and removing the tools is here. It is a non-protected button, so you can actually shove that into the spindle should it be running, so you want to keep your finger well away from that. It also has the standard collar, which you can take off and use as a tool to tighten up or loosen bits that you put in it. I mean, that probably answers most of the questions you need to know. I don't need to have this sticker on here anymore. I want to remove this. Oh, it's an easy peel too. Well done, Bosch. I'll do a few little demonstrations with this in a minute to show you the sort of power it's got, but I've actually been really pleased with this little thing. It's not a replacement for a normal Dremel. You cannot run it off of the cable, because it's charging the battery in the drawer, and it will be more than what the battery can charge, and thus it won't actually properly charge, and it will probably overheat, so it's not advised. But I found this was really useful for just sort of stuff around the house, but also when I'm doing jobs in here, like I'm doing something at the other end of the bench, and my Dremel's on that end of the bench, I can just grab this and do the little thing I need to do, and it actually is really handy. I think, though, where this is mainly aimed is at the arts and crafts side, because, I mean, if you look at the box, it is giving you that impression. You see you've got people doing little etches into slate stones, and it's all very small projects, sharpening some gardening shears, so I suppose you can do that. We do actually sell a range of cordless Dremels. This is the very bottom one, and then it goes up depending on sort of, your power and your battery size and things like that. So if you're someone who could use a Dremel but don't have access to mains power, there is now the option of getting cordless versions. Cordless versions are never normally as good as the powered, the plug-in walled version, for obvious reasons, batteries, but they can do the job, and in some instances, little Dremels can save you quite a lot of time. Okay, I'll do a couple of demonstrations in a minute with some standard tools so you can see it working. But when I did the last review of the 4300, I mentioned how much I like the easy disconnect cutting discs. The ones you don't have to use a screw, you just click it on and switch it. And my contact at Dremel said basically, we do an easy drum sanding attachment. And I was like, what? And they were like, yeah, we'll send you one. You can have a little go with it. I haven't actually opened it yet because I wanted to save it for the video. So I get to do that now, finally. The normal sanding drums are not ideal. They break down after a bit of time. The Dremel ones do last longer than the cheap ones. That's something I will say. The Dremel bits are, you know, there are cheaper alternatives out there, but they do tend to last longer. And the sanding drums definitely last longer. You can work out economy of scale of how many you get for money and stuff, and whether you want to change them regularly rather than having one more expensive one. You can work that out. But anyway, how does this work? So you pull that up, push that on, and then it snaps in. I like that. I like that a lot. Let's just put that in here. Use its collar. Just lift up. If you've ever used a Dremel and the sanding drums, you will know how much easier that is. I'm loving this. Do you want to send me a couple more? Maybe the small. Do you do a smaller size one as well? Right, okay, so let's do some tests with this. I'm going to try it with a sanding drum on it. I'm going to just try and sand some steel so you can see how it does into that. Because obviously I think most people will be using this with plastics and wood and fiberboard and that sort of stuff because it's craft. But they sent it to a metal artist, and thus I will tax metal with it. Okay, so I have some 6mm mild steel rod, and what I'm going to do to test it is I'm just going to sand a section of this and see how well it takes the surface off, see what sort of power setting we need to use it on, because as I say, the thing about Dremel tools I've found is that for many of them, like the sanders, for the wire wheels, you don't want to run them very fast. And that's a benefit because it means obviously your battery's going to last longer if you're using something battery operated. Anyway, without further ado, I'm going to just try this out. Okay, well that was just setting 2. Absolutely no problems. That's taken that surface down quite a lot actually, because it's quite a coarse sanding drum. I'm now going to turn it way up, and I'm going to see if I can dig a hole in this and see how long it takes. That's taken a reasonable sized chunk out of there in just that few moments. So as you can see, for small little jobs, if you just need to do 1 or 2 ends, then this could actually be a very good solution. Or if you're doing lots and lots and lots and lots of them, obviously this won't be a great solution because the charging time versus the working time is not great. If you, as I say, if you're doing it like I do sort of professionally. But, you know, for DIY stuff, this thing's absolutely brilliant. Let me just compare that to the 4300. I'm now going to use my Dremel 4300, which is a mains operated Dremel, and I'm using the flex lead on it, but I'm going to use it at sort of mid power and just sort of compare how long it takes to dig a hole of a similar size. It's actually pretty close, to be honest with you. The 4300 being mains operated, it has more torque. It's going to, because it's got more power available to it. So you can press a little bit harder with it. But as I say, I've been deeply impressed by this little thing for what is just a consumer level little handy tool. However, it did come with this little ball-ended grinder, which feels rough, so I'm imagining it's probably diamond coated of some sort, and this is for engraving. So I thought, why don't I try something craftsy that people would do with this. So what I'm going to do is put that in there. Okay, so what I thought I'd try and do is do a bit of engraving. And I thought, well, what am I going to engrave? And I thought, well, I know, what I'll do is I've got this block of aluminium. I'll stick one of my stickers on it. These are available from my Etsy store in white, green and black if you want to pick one up and help support the channel. Alternatively, you can join my Patreon, as the people up the side of your screen do each month. It's only $1 a month. Okay, just peel that off. Et voila. Well, I say that, you probably can't see it very well because of the colour. But no matter. Okay, so I've just marked over that sticker and then I'm going to remove it. Okay, so I've got the Dremel with the little ball-ended grinder in, and I think you can see what I'm going to do here. I'm going to stick some music on, and I'll probably speed this next bit up, but I'm going to go round and I'm going to try and engrave in that name, and then hopefully when I clean off the surface it will look like an engraved logo. Okay, that was easy enough. Moment of truth. I'll just spray this off camera. It's not the neatest and tidiest. I was being really quick about it, but you can see the kind of things you can do. With a bit more care, you can get it neater than that. Let me try highlighting that. I'm going to rub in black pen. If I went deeper with that and got some better paint in there and then sanded it down, it would be a bit crisper than this because I haven't gone that deep into the surface, to be fair with you. But that does actually look pretty cool still. Now I'm going to very quickly try this with a little wire brush because you don't want these running any faster than about that. It's done a nice job of cleaning up that surface, and as I say, you wouldn't really want it much faster than about 2 with a wire brush. Oh, I forgot to mention, there is an LED here which shows you when it's charging, and it also turns red when it's starting to run out of power. But if it is starting to run out of power, if you just knock it down a stage, you'll get a bit longer out of it because it won't be using quite so much. And that's the thing with this, that you do want to keep it on the lowest setting you can to elongate battery life. So my final conclusion on it, nicely made little bit of kit. Surprisingly good battery life, surprisingly powerful, surprisingly handy. I think it would be nice if it had a dock instead of the plug-in USB, because then you could just like stick it in its little dock on the side and then take it off when you need it. So Dremel, maybe consider that. You know, you could have a couple of metal contacts just on the back and just have it as a sit-in dock. I think that would be a good idea for something like this, because this is the sort of thing that you want to have on charge and then grab it and use it and put it back. And if the place you put it back also charges it without having to get a cable out and undo the little thing and plug it in, I think it would be far more handy. But it's a very nice little thing, and for about £40, you can't ask much. So there you go. There is my review of the Dremel Lite. Handy little tool, surprisingly good at many things. Thanks for watching, catch you next time, and if you found this video useful, leave a like. Bye! If you enjoyed this video and the other content on the channel, please consider following the links in the description to show your support.